Hello and thank you for coming to this channel. My name is Janet. I'm working through the King James's Bible. Today I am in the book of Nehemiah and I'll be covering today chapters 4 through to chapter 6. So I'll be summarising each one and we'll start right now. So just to give you a quick recap of where we left off yesterday, we are now building a wall around Jerusalem and Nehemiah is at the head. He is the leader. He's come from Babylon. He was the king's cupbearer and he is leading the people now of Jerusalem to build this amazing wall around the city. So in chapter 4 we open up with Sanballat and Tobiah, which are the enemies really to the work that's being carried out, and they are making fun of the work the Jews are doing to build this wall. They are trying their best to discourage their efforts. They're saying things like, what are these feeble Jews doing? Like it was so impossible to build this wall because it was such a mammoth of a task. And they're saying things like, whatever they build, it will fall down because a fox will go up and it will break. And also things like, this is way too big for them, they are crazy. So it's like they're constantly just chipping away at them by putting in these little seeds of doubt. But Nehemiah, their strong leader, he retaliates. What he does, he doesn't go to them, he prays to God. And he asks for his assistance in dealing with these two that are mocking them. And he says, God, show mercy, please put these two in their place. And so what happens is the workers just get more stronger and stronger in their sense and purpose of what they are doing. So the work continues with vigour. Because the people now have it in their minds. They've got this strength of what they're doing. And the wall gets built halfway up. So that's amazing what they've done by just their strength and conviction of what they're doing. And obviously this angers the enemies because they're trying to mock them. It's not working and the wall's gone up halfway now. But the enemies are so angry they plan to attack and they're trying to create confusion in the camp of Jerusalem. And obviously the ones involved in all this is Sanballat, Tobiah and the Arab Geshem. And they're saying that they're going to have an army of the Arabs, the Ammonites and the Ashdodites. That's who they're planning to get together to attack them. But the people of Jerusalem, they just pray, they return to their God, they pray for his assistance as always. But they also take action, they keep a watchful eye out through the day and night to protect them. You know, if an army is going to come and attack, they are going to be ready, and so they keep a lookout all day and all night. Then the tribe of Judah, who is one of the strongest tribes who are helping build this wall, they start getting discouraged. And they're saying, the strength in our labour is failing, there is too much rubbish, we cannot build this wall. Plus, they've got the enemies now planning a surprise attack. However, some of the Jews who are living near the enemy lines have overheard the plans, this surprise attack, and they tell Nehemiah that they're trying to come and they're going to, attack when we don't know about it. So Nehemiah sets up a defence and he gets the leaders in position and the men in position, and they have swords and spears and bows ready to attack. And he says to the people, do not be afraid. Remember, we've got God on our side. So when the enemy see that they're aware that they're going to come at them and they've got all of this, this armour and weapons and they're ready for them, they don't attack because they know it just won't work. They've got God on their side, they've got their weapons, so they back off. And it's pretty amazing what the people do because they don't only just work on the wall, they've also got, one has a sword, there's one person there ready with a sword to go to war and another person with a shovel digging and carrying on the work of the wall. So they've got to keep both going so that the wall can be built while these enemies outside of them are like on the edge to try and attack and try to bring this wall down. They are like working so hard to get this wall built. Plus, within this ready defence, they've incorporated the trumpet, so there's people there ready with the trumpet, so if they see anything, they'll blow the trumpet so they're ready to go, and they keep their clothes on night and day so that they're dressed and ready also to fight. They're not going to be caught off guard. And this is where we close chapter 4. Now in chapter 5 there is an outcry from the Jewish people inside the camp. They're at a place now where they're building this wall, but they are suffering. Some don't have enough food in that because they've spent so much time building the wall, they haven't got the resources now to feed their own families, so they're upset. Plus others have had to mortgage their properties to get food because there's been a famine in the land and food prices have gone up. Others, because they just couldn't afford things like that to pay off, they've taken out loans, and the people who have given the loans have wanted interest on them, and so they've ended up giving their daughters or sons as servants to pay back these loans. They've also got king's taxes on them that they're having to pay, and these were put on people who weren't even working as well, so it's so unfair that they're having to pay tax when they can't work also. So it's unfair hardship that's happening to the people. Now Nehemiah becomes very angry about this because he sees it's a lack of unity between the people. It's also they're not focused on God, and also people are profiting off those who are in a poorer situation. So he's angry about this, but he doesn't act from anger. He takes a step back, he thinks carefully before he makes his decision on what he's going to do about this. So he begins by calling an assembly together, and he outward talks straight to the nobles and the rulers for what they are doing. And he calls them up about lending and charging interest on people who just can't afford it. This is wrong. This is not in God's laws. And he calls it usury in the Bible, which it means it's an interest that is either too high or should not be charged at all. And he says it's wrong to put Jews into slavery for debt by other Jews. They have no regard for God's will. And he calls for these nobles and rulers to put the record right, to turn round what they have done wrong. And the nobles and rulers agree they will put right what they have done wrong. But Nehemiah knows, it's easy just to say, yeah, we'll do this. So he makes sure it's written down in writing. He has an oath made with the priests that it will be done, and those who don't do it will be struck from their homes if they don't keep this promise. And they all agree to this and say amen. We learn that Nehemiah, he was in a position where he could have taxed the people, but he didn't. He chose not to. He was honourable to God, and he put God at the heart of everything that he did. He was also granted provisions from the king that he could have acquired, all of this extra stuff which he didn't do because he knew the people were in distress. He wasn't going to sit there taking all of these luxuries while they were all suffering. And this chapter ends with him giving a prayer. He's written down a prayer to God saying, remember me for all the good I have done. So he's having that quiet communion with God as we close chapter 5. So in chapter 6, it opens with those enemies. Yes, you guessed them right. Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem the Arab. They all come back up because they learn the walls are built now. And they send a friendly message to Nehemiah. They want to meet him. They want to have this chat. But Nehemiah, he knows this is there's something off here. This is not right. And plus he hadn't finished doing the gate. So that was the final piece. And that's probably why they want to meet, because he's at that very critical stage now where once that gate is built, that's it. They're locked in. The safety's done. So they want to meet him. But he's like, no, I have got work to do here. God's work. Why am I going to stop doing that to meet you guys? I'm staying here. I'm going to get on with building these gates. And it says in this chapter that they tried 4 times to ask him to come, and each time he said the same thing to them. So these enemies, they are persistent, and Sanballat, he sends another letter to Nehemiah. And in this one he says, there are rumours that you plan to become king over Judah once the wall is built. And we also hear that you're going to appoint prophets that will go round and tell everybody, oh, there is a new king of Judah. And they say, if you do not come and meet us, we're going to report this to the king of Persia. So they're threatening him, and they're making out that he's going to pay prophets to go around, that he's going to become king of Judah, and it's all going to happen once this gate's built and they'll be locked in. Now Nehemiah knows this is just another ploy to try and pull him to this meeting, and he said, no, you're just lying. This is all made up in your own heads. None of that is actually happening. I'm carrying on doing the work, and I'm going to get this gate built. And he says they're just trying to weaken our work and make us afraid. So don't let fear get to you. That's what this lesson is all about in this chapter. Do not fear your enemies. Stay strong in your heart to God and you will be guided through, but you will get hit with all kinds of things, which is what they are dealing with right now. So next he has another challenge that is coming at him, and this comes in the form of a prophet by the name of Shemaiah. Now he comes and says to Nehemiah, let us meet in the temple of God, because your enemies are coming and they are going to kill you by night. Now Nehemiah, with this discernment, he is discerning, is this actually true? Is this guy a prophet? I don't think so. I think he has been paid by my enemies, Sanballat and Tobiah. They've sent him here to tell me this, plus it is not right for me to go into God's temple. It's not in God's law, because only priests are allowed in there. So he sees through these lies. And he just carries on building the wall, and then we learn that the wall is completed within 52 days. That's pretty amazing. He has prayed for 4 months, and he has been gifted by the king of Persia through God, obviously, who's worked through that. He's gone up to Jerusalem and he's built this wall with the Judah and Jerusalem people, and in 52 days it's done. Now when the enemies hear this and they know it's completed, they are disheartened, it says, because they know it was God's doing. And then at the very end of this chapter we learn that the enemy Tobiah, he actually had ties with the people in the Judah camp there, that he was obviously sending letters back and forth. And it says he was trying to frighten him, making him the good guy, Tobiah, seeing him as the good guy, wanting to help, however way that was. And Nehemiah was the bad person, but he just kept true to God. He carried on the work and he stayed strong with God. And this is where we close chapter 6, with the wall now being complete. So there we have it, our 3 chapters for today. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll be back again with more chapters within the book of Nehemiah soon. Take care now. Bye.